getting ready for a smoke sesh with Peter at the park. The first time I smoked weed, I was 13 years old. I remember I was with my friends and we were right on the side of my house when I lived with my mom. It was probably like some dirt ass mid-swag weed, but like it being my first time, I was so high. And I'll never forget the first time I smoked. I think it was way more of just a social activity throughout my teenage years and my young adulthood. I'd say throughout maybe the last 2.5, 3 years, my perspectives have changed, my opinions. My beliefs on cannabis haven't changed, but from learning so much more about it and the benefits it has as far as with health conditions, cancer, all kinds of things, I think in the past about 3 years I've become more of an activist and not just an enthusiast. A little over 3 years ago today, I relocated myself. I was born and raised in a very small town in Florida, and I moved out here to Colorado January 26th of 2015. And marijuana just became legal medicinally last year. I didn't want to live in a state anymore where I feared losing my freedom and catching a charge and going to jail over a simple plant that grows out of the ground. So I decided to relocate somewhere where I could continue to self-medicate with more natural products legally, as far as to not put my freedom and clean criminal record in jeopardy. I was starting to become more aware of, just the lies that have been instilled in us, to believe that cannabis is a drug. I get into this debate quite often about whether or not we should consider cannabis an actual drug or a healing plant. And the majority of people I hear, they want to consider it a drug, but to me, my definition of a drug is something that is man-made and it replicates and copies a natural substance, but has terrible side effects and kills people and gets people addicted daily. That's a drug. Just because it so happens to have psychoactive characteristics and effects to it doesn't make it a drug. It wasn't tampered with. It wasn't altered in any way, shape, or form to give it those effects, when consumed. So I don't believe that cannabis is a drug, and I think I figured that out around 15, 16 years old. Some of my personal friends became addicted to methamphetamine and alcohol, and I've literally watched people I've known since elementary school just completely destroy their lives over a substance that they're addicted to, and it's no fault of their own, but we gotta blame somebody, I am a recovering alcoholic. I can't tell you exactly how many days sober I am. I lost count a while ago, but I know I'm reaching my 1.5-year mark. I was very, very, very reliant and very addicted to alcohol. My tolerance was extremely high, which makes it a bigger risk of having that addiction and struggling with that, because I would drink so much to the point where I'd black out. That's what I was going for every time I picked up and started drinking. The goal was to get as shit-faced as possible in the shortest amount of time as possible so that I could just forget everything. And I can say with confidence that cannabis saved my life. If it weren't for not only, having this plant, I wouldn't say available to us, but available to certain people in certain states. If we didn't have this, and if I didn't start smoking when I was young, I don't think I'd be alive right now. One person that became my first biggest influence as far as confirming my belief that marijuana is safe and that all the things that are said about it by pharmaceutical companies and the government are lies was my cousin. She was my best friend. I would consider her like a sister to me. She smoked pot since I can remember, and when she felt that I was old enough and mature enough, which was around 14, 15 years old, she then became more comfortable with smoking around me, and then it became where she was comfortable with smoking with me. And yeah, she was, a big role model to me as far as saying, you know what, fuck what these people are saying about weed. I smoke it every day. I'm not dead yet. I don't have cancer. I'm not sick. In fact, I use it when I don't feel good. I use it when I'm anxious. I use it for all kinds of things. So yeah, she was a really, really big influence as far as confirming that, yeah, weed's not a drug and there's nothing wrong with it. The death of my friend Buster, he OD'd on a mixture of prescription pills, cocaine, and benzoids. So they call that speedballing because it's an upper and a downer, and when you take all that at one time, your fucking heart stops, and that's exactly what happened. So I would say that that's what influenced me to really find more direction in what exactly my goal was, my mission, and I figured out that I was put on this earth to free the weed. Not just where I'm at, because if you get it legalized in your state, yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Now it's time to do more work, because everyone was in the dark at one point. Everybody was confused as to how do we get this legalized? What do we do? It's our job to educate those that don't know what to do, to take action where they are so that we can legalize it not only in the United States but the entire world. There's, I could name a whole list of reasons. Confusion, not knowing where to go, what to do, the type of people to congregate with and form groups with. You're just kind of in the dark. It's like trying something for the very first time. You don't know what to do. I think a big change would be that our generation, we have the ability to recognize that shit that they did in the past, it didn't fucking work. And we can't let history repeat itself. And there are so many of us at our age that strongly believe in that. And if you have enough people that believe in one thing, you can move mountains. Yeah, I think our generation is very essential to, being responsible for this movement, and eventually, hopefully, I can live in a world where everybody can smoke pot. Kids are able to, have the oils for seizures and their parents not be judged and say, oh, you're giving your kids drugs and da-da-da, because it's quite the contrary. What we think, these pills that we're being prescribed, that we are being lied to and told is going to cure us, that's what's killing us, not the weed. And I think it's time for everybody to wake up and realize that shit. The one stereotype that bothers me the most is when they say, I don't mind the term pothead. I don't mind the term stoner. In fact, I'm proud when somebody said, oh, you're a fucking weed head. Like, yeah. We're not lazy. We're not irresponsible. We're just like the guy that you see going to the bar for happy hour after work. We're just like him. Just like he needs some kind of release, so do we. We just choose to do it in a more healthy way. My favorite thing about weed is how it just continues to prove the ignorance of these older generations wrong time and time again. My favorite thing about weed is how it brings people together and for lack of better words, it creates peace. I really believe that weed is very powerful spiritually. It brings people together. Not only is it a social activity to do with your friends, but I love smoking by myself. I love just meditating and being alone with my thoughts to a fat ass blunt of weed and just really being able to identify with and reflect on the day. I could thank cannabis for that, because I could never do that when I was drunk. Hell, people that do heroin, they be nodding out and shit. So my favorite thing about weed is the natural effects, the statistical proof and proving people wrong, and it just being a social thing that brings people together. I think there are tons of negative aspects about the legalization of weed on a statewide level. We're not making any progress. In fact, we're just staying stagnant, and we're taking people's tax dollars because, hey, it's weed. Pot's legalized. People are going nuts. Of course they don't give a fuck that they're paying 28% in taxes, especially if they're just a tourist visiting the state just to see, get a little taste of what it's like. One-time visit, 28% in taxes, whatever, no big deal. But if you live here, you get really sick of that shit. Like, the fact that if I knew a grower, I could get an ounce for half the price that they're selling it for in the dispensary, and it'd be way better weed. I hate that they're turning all of this right into the fucking pharmaceutical, like it's all corporate, and we're not helping anybody. We're overcharging on a plant that grows out of the ground. You go to the grocery store, you can buy how many tomatoes for how much money? Why is that a little bit of weed costing you $75? If you have a high tolerance, how long is that really going to last you? So you're blowing cash on something that if the laws allowed it, you could grow that shit in your backyard. But no, since there's no money in it for the government, they want to put a plant count on people that live here. They want to make this illegal and that illegal, and you can't have but a certain amount on you. What the fuck difference does it make if I have an ounce or 5 pounds in my trunk? All that weed ain't gonna kill me or anybody else consuming it. So I think there are a lot of flaws in the system that were purposely made, loopholes, I guess. It's just like a facade. They're making it look pretty for us, but really they're just robbing the fuck out of us. We don't know what's being sprayed in those plants. We don't know the regulations and the requirements that they're putting on these grow houses. So what are we smoking? And where's that tax money going? That's what I don't like about it. If I had one message for the world, and just to wrap this up, stop being afraid. Stop being afraid to fight for a plant that saves lives. Whether it be somebody in your family you're fighting for yourself, or somebody all the way across the world that you don't even know. Be selfless. Fight for what you believe in. Fight for what's right. Be on the right side of history. Don't follow in the footsteps of everybody else just because you want to just get by in life. Be somebody. Make a difference. Save somebody's life, because I guarantee you it'll give your life meaning. So wake the fuck up. These roses are dead. We got to plant new ground. Like, we got to plan a new future. And it's time to stop settling for the way things are. It's called evolution. Humans evolve. Laws need to evolve. Society has to evolve. We are not back in the colonial days. And for anybody who refuses, just out of pure ignorance, to not accept the fact that weed is not a drug and it cures and it's saving lives every day of children, athletes, old people in nursing homes, anybody, recovering addicts are using cannabis to fight their addiction to these prescription pills that are flooding our streets and killing all of our brothers and sisters. And it's time to do something about it. If somebody doesn't want to hear or agree with what you have to say, you can't force anything down anybody's throat. But at least you can say at the end of the day, you did what you could. If you don't do anything about it, what did you do to make a difference in today's society? You didn't do nothing. So, is that the bed that you want to sleep in? Ask yourself that. With that being said, I'm Lady Furnish. Peace out, free the weed.
It's the marijuana, any old kind of way. Pass the marijuana.